One of the biggest reasons many MSMEs struggle to scale predictably is not lack of effort, it is lack of repeatability. And interestingly, this problem often remains hidden during the early growth years. Because in the beginning, many businesses grow through founder energy, personal relationships, individual brilliance, aggressive follow-up, and emotional commitment. And for some time this works. The founder pushes harder, a strong salesperson performs exceptionally, important customers remain loyal. Revenue moves, so naturally the business feels we are growing. But then slowly something begins to happen. Growth starts becoming inconsistent. Sales performance fluctuates. Execution becomes unpredictable. The founder feels operationally trapped, and scaling starts becoming emotionally exhausting. Why? Because the business was built around exceptional effort, not repeatable systems, and this distinction changes everything. Many MSMEs unknowingly build sales environments where success depends on who is involved instead of how the system works. And businesses built around individuals eventually become fragile because brilliance is difficult to scale, but repeatability can scale beautifully. Hi everyone, this is Abani and welcome to the MSME Growth Hub podcast. This is season 9 where we are exploring designing the sales system founder view, and today's episode is designing sales for repeatability, and its subtitle is Why Consistency Beats Brilliance. Let us first understand why this happens so commonly in MSMEs, because this is not accidental, it is structural. In the early stages of business, survival itself depends heavily on founder involvement. The founder negotiates, follows up, solves customer problems, manages relationships, and personally drives sales momentum. And naturally, the business grows around the founder's personality. Now, this is not wrong initially. In fact, many MSMEs survive because founders are deeply committed. But the problem begins when the business never evolves beyond founder-driven selling. Then slowly, sales becomes dependent on specific individuals, personal memory, emotional improvisation, and relationship heroics. And once this happens, repeatability weakens. Now, let me share something I observed repeatedly during my corporate sales leadership journey. The strongest sales ecosystems were rarely dependent on the smartest salesperson. Instead, they were built around disciplined execution, structured communication, consistent qualification, and repeatable customer experience. Interestingly, sometimes the most brilliant individual performers created hidden instability because nobody else could replicate their style, their judgment, or their relationship management approach. And this created operational dependency. The same thing happens inside MSMEs, only the scale is different. Now let us go deeper. Most founders admire brilliance, and understandably so, because brilliant people create visible results. And a founder may think this salesperson is outstanding, or nobody understands customers like this person, or only I can handle strategic negotiations properly. And slowly the business begins revolving around exceptional individuals, but over time this creates hidden problems. For example, sales knowledge remains undocumented. Qualification becomes inconsistent. Communication styles vary. Customer expectations become uneven, and pipeline visibility weakens. Now suddenly growth becomes difficult to stabilize because brilliance creates variability, whereas systems create consistency. This is a very important distinction. A business does not become scalable because someone performs brilliantly once. A business becomes scalable when good performance becomes repeatable across people and time. And repeatability requires design, not emotional dependence. Now let us look at this from the customer's perspective. Customers do not only value intelligence, they value predictability. Think about this carefully. A customer feels more confident when follow-up happens consistently, communication remains clear, timelines remain realistic, information flows smoothly, and expectations remain aligned. That consistency creates trust. Now compare that with emotionally reactive sales environments. One day, high responsiveness, next day, silence. One salesperson promises aggressively, another communicates cautiously. One founder intervenes deeply, another disappears operationally. Customers experience inconsistency, and inconsistency weakens confidence. This is why repeatability matters so deeply, not because businesses should become robotic, but because customers trust reliable systems more than emotional unpredictability. Now, interestingly, many founders misunderstand systems here. They fear if we standardize too much, sales will lose human connection. But actually, well-designed systems improve relationships because systems reduce avoidable confusion. And when confusion reduces, relationships become stronger. Now, let us connect this to founder psychology because this is where repeatability becomes transformational. When sales depends heavily on brilliance, founders remain mentally trapped inside operations because they constantly worry who can handle this customer, who can negotiate properly, what happens if this salesperson leaves, will the team maintain quality, can others replicate this performance? And this creates invisible stress. I have seen many founders unknowingly become operational bottlenecks simply because the business lacked repeatable systems. Now, here is the important shift. Once repeatability improves, the founder stops carrying every outcomes emotionally. Because visibility improves, consistency improves, and execution becomes less personally dependent. This creates confidence, not because uncertainty disappears completely, but because the system itself becomes more stable, and stable systems reduce founder anxiety dramatically. Now let us make this practical. What does repeatability actually look like inside a sales system? It means qualification logic is clear, follow-up rhythm is defined, communication standards exist, ownership is visible, escalation paths are known, and pipeline movement follows structured thinking. Notice something important here. None of this removes human intelligence. It simply reduces unnecessary variability. This is why mature sales systems are not rigid, they are intelligently consistent. And intelligently consistent businesses eventually outperform emotionally reactive businesses. Not because they move dramatically faster, but because they compound stability over time. Now, let me share another important observation. In advisory interactions, I often notice founders trying to solve inconsistency through more monitoring, more pressure, more reviews, or more targets. But consistency rarely comes from pressure, it comes from clarity, and clarity creates repeatability. Now, the obvious question becomes, why do many MSMEs delay designing repeatability? Because during early growth stages, heroics often produce visible success, and visible success delays structural thinking. The founder thinks we are doing well, so deeper architecture gets postponed until complexity increases, and then suddenly founder fatigue rises, sales inconsistency increases, execution quality fluctuates, and scaling becomes difficult. At that stage, many founders realize we built growth but not repeatability. And without repeatability, growth eventually becomes emotionally expensive. So, let me leave you with an important reflection today. Ask yourself honestly, inside your business right now, if your strongest salesperson disappeared tomorrow, would the system still create stable sales movement? Or would the business lose confidence immediately? Because that answer reveals whether your sales engine is built on brilliance or repeatability. And sustainable businesses eventually require both capable people and stable systems. But systems must become the foundation, not heroics. As we continue through season 9, we will keep exploring how founders can design sales systems that reduce unpredictability, improve visibility, strengthen execution, and create long-term confidence. Not through extraordinary bursts of effort, but through thoughtful architecture that makes good performance repeatable. Because in the long run, consistency compounds more powerfully than brilliance. If this episode helped you reflect differently about sales consistency inside your business, do follow the MSME Growth Hub podcast and share this episode with another founder or sales leader who may also be trying to reduce operational dependency while scaling growth.